For more on Bitcoin's record rally, let's bring in Meltem Demirors. She's a general partner at VC Crucible Capital. Meltem, great to see you.
Good to be back. It's that time of year.
It is that time of year. Tim mentioned flows, and that's what you always talk about. Look at the flows, and you've been seeing the flows going gangbusters in this rally.
The flow, this is the story, right? Sentiment leads to flows, and flows are really how we price Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a digital commodity. Supply and demand are what drive price. So flows right now are coming from, as you mentioned, the ETFs. Overall, I think it's just really important to state $84 billion of flows into the ETFs. 2/3 of the way to the total AUM of gold ETFs. This is a blockbuster year for Bitcoin. Today, MicroStrategy bought $2 billion in Bitcoin. We saw last week $2 billion of flows into the Bitcoin ETF. The prior 3 weeks, we'd seen roughly the same amount. We're seeing all-time highs in terms of volumes traded. So the flows are coming. They're strong. And I think the story is Bitcoin was contrarian. It is now consensus. So I expect a lot more inflows.
Do you think, do you think the chances are of the U.S. being a huge buyer in that it becomes a reserve currency or there is a special Bitcoin fund?
Well, the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve was obviously part of Trump's crypto and Bitcoin platform. He announced that obviously at the conference, the Bitcoin conference in the summer. I will be so happy when that happens. And Melissa, I will buy you all a drink.
Meltem, it's Karen. Thanks for being on today. Do you think there is some amount of supply that comes out at, let's say, $100,000, which is a round number and a target for a lot of Bitcoin bulls? Do you think that we would see supply and that maybe put a top on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's a question we often ask ourselves. Last year, I think we were in a very different situation because there was still a lot of sellers of Bitcoin, obviously, with the FTX bankruptcy and unwind, several other high-profile bankruptcies and unwinds. We had a lot of debtors holding Bitcoin. That supply overhang of Bitcoin is mostly gone. In May, we had a Bitcoin halving. There's now half the amount of Bitcoin that's mined in every block. So the inflationary pressure from Bitcoin mining is now cut in half. That supply overhang is getting cut back. I think the volume of buying is going to greatly exceed the volume of selling. The Bitcoin miners aren't accumulating as many coins, again, because that halving cycle has happened this year. So I think there's a lot less selling pressure. And the reality is, as much as people say they're going to sell at 100K or 125, if Bitcoin reaches parity with gold, that's $800,000 per Bitcoin. So I think that a lot of holders of Bitcoin are going to be long-term holders. And we see this in the charts. Big whales holding more than 1,000 coins. They haven't moved a lot of their coins around to exchanges this year.
When do you think that could be hit? 800,000.
Oh, if I knew, Melissa, I wouldn't be on this show.
I mean, order of magnitude. I mean, is this like years? Is this decades? Is this...
I think it's years. I think the big question is, what are the big structural shifts? So I just want to talk really briefly about market microstructure because it's really important. Bitcoin ETFs, really easy way for people to access Bitcoin, but they're buying spot exposure, right, in a really easy wrapper. We have MicroStrategy. Why does MicroStrategy do crazy volume? Because you can buy options on MicroStrategy, right? It's a really clean way to trade long and short without needing the capital that you need to trade the CME futures product, which is cash settled and requires you to post collateral. The real question is, what is going to be the route where it's really easy for people to allocate to crypto and deploy a wide variety of strategies when it comes to Bitcoin? People have different preferences. And so I think the real question is, when is market microstructure going to accommodate not just tens of billions of flows, but potentially hundreds of billions of dollars a day in trading volume from people who want to trade spot, options, and other sort of more sophisticated strategies?
All right. Meltem, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much. It's always great to see you. Meltem Demirors. And obviously, we mentioned, but didn't talk about Coinbase and Robinhood being real beneficiaries of all of this, whether it be Bitcoin or the meme action.
Yeah, I mean, to Karen's point, if you're an institutional investor and you need to buy Bitcoin for whatever reason, I mean, Coinbase is the place for custody and a whole host of other things. So that makes total sense to me. I know a lot of folks have been really focused on the retail. And again, there's lots of different places to do that now. And with the ETFs, I'll just make one point on the MicroStrategy. If you look at December expiration, the stock is trading at $340. The 340 straddle. You put the call premium and the put premium together, it's $100. And I just said it's a 340 strike, call. Okay, so just do the math there. I mean, there's some things that are getting very out of whack on a pricing standpoint. And the last few times, if you were to buy a Bitcoin on a parabolic move like this, and to this extent it's kind of moved, it's probably a tough time to do it unless you're willing to average down for a while and you have a long-term time horizon.